So I used to live like the last 8 years when I was in Germany. I lived in a big city called Leipzig, and it's really well known for the like biking systems in the city, but also like to all of the lakes around it. And so I was always biking. Like I had my two bikes, and I was just like switching up like what I wanted to do. And so yeah, I was always in my free time just like outside and like going on hiking trips and like vacation, always like either to the Alps in the south or like to France or Italy. And it was always like more like my life was more focused on like the outdoorsy things than like the city life and like going shopping and stuff like that. I'd rather like spend the time outside.
Hmm.
And yeah, I used to have like a little, pretty much like a rebuilt van. And so on the weekends, we were always driving to like places where you could climb or just go on big hikes. And yeah, I'm pretty much like, I was that before. Canada didn't change me in that perspective.
Hey everyone, and welcome to Immigrants of Canada, a show that features immigrant stories of hope, struggle, victory, and everything in between. I'm your host, Suzette Smith, and today I'm chatting with a new friend I made at Lululemon in Banff, Judith Muehlbauer. Welcome to Immigrants of Canada, Judy.
Hi, Suzette. How
Hi,
are you?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm good as well.
That's good. I heard that yesterday you hit the slopes. You're an ambassador for Ski Big 3. Could you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, of course. So I live in Canmore, so it's pretty close to Banff National Park, where we have three amazing ski resorts: Mount Knockway and Sunshine Village Ski Resort and Lake Louise. And we just had like a really, really cold like period, like the polar vortex, and so now it's just finally over, and we can go skiing again.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I went actually to Mount Knockway yesterday. That's like the closest to the town of Banff. And then yeah, it's beautiful. You can just like see like overlook the whole Bow Valley pretty much, and like you can see Mount Rundle and Tunnel Mountain. So yeah, I just love skiing in the Rockies. It's so very like it's a huge variety of mountains and slopes. So yeah, I really, really enjoy that.
Mm-hmm. And how did you become an ambassador for Ski Big 3?
Yeah. So Ski Week 3 has like this amazing program. You pretty much just apply for it. You have to like tell them what's pretty much your story about like skiing, how did you get into skiing and how you like the mountains. And then you just tell them what you would bring as like content and like projects. And so yeah, I just did that, and I got it in the summer, which was awesome. And now I'm for the winter season, they're one of their Ski Week 3 ambassadors.
Wow, that is so cool. So,
Mhm.
out of the three um, hot spots, we'll call it, which is your favorite?
Definitely Lake Louise. It's
Mm,
just like you have like a lot of slopes on the front side, which is like more accessible to families and like groomed runs. But then on the back side, you have like the all mountain terrain, which is like cliff drops and like little gullies and chutes, and you can even hike to a couple like runs a little bit, so you get like all the fresh powder. And
oh, cool.
I just love, yeah, how much of like a terrain is available there, and you can just ski whatever you prefer to ski.
Mm. And you've been skiing quite a bit then in the last few months or so, correct?
Yes, so I have like a little challenge with myself. I'm trying to ski 100 days this season. So I did 75 yesterday, and not yesterday, sorry, the year before.
Okay.
And so so I'm trying to hit another 100. We will see. Last year I couldn't work because of some visa issues. We are
Okay.
probably gonna get to that in a little bit. So that was easier. And but yeah, this year I'm working full time. So hopefully I can get to it. I'm at I think 47 at the moment. So I'm
Okay.
almost halfway.
All right.
Yeah.
Awesome. And so that's kind of like a workout then. It's your workout regime.
Yeah. So in those 100 days, like cross country skiing counts and backcountry skiing counts, and like obviously the resort skiing.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I also ski a lot with my dog, and she's just asking to get out of the house. So just give me a second.
Okay, sounds good.
Um, she loves the snow. She's like enjoying the sun on the patio now. So yeah, it's pretty much my workout. Like I love just like to go get ready and be outside in the sun and like in the snow and just like have like the like sometimes I enjoy being at the resort with other people, but I also really enjoy just being like by myself,
Mm.
like getting the workout on the cross country skis or like in the back country. And yeah, that's like my definitely my winter workout. One of my
It
favorites.
it is a workout for sure, and comparable to people who go to the gym at 6 a.m. in the morning. They just to start their day, they go, they lift weights, they run on the treadmill, they row, whatever it is that they do, and then they get ready for work and start their day. So that's kind of
Exactly.
like what it is for you.
Yeah. And like my job is awesome because I sometimes work like just in the afternoons and then until the night. So I can actually go out before work or even after. So that's like awesome just that everything is so accessible and like close by where we live.
Oh, and in the summertime, so there's skiing in the winter, and in the summertime, do you ever do the big long biking trail?
Yeah, so in the summer I really like I have a road bike, I have a mountain bike. We have where we live in Camel, we just have right behind our house we have like a huge trail system for mountain biking, which is awesome. And then I also road bike, and it's awesome because there's a like a the trail from Camel to Banff, like it's
Yeah, that's
paved.
the one I was thinking of. Yeah.
Yeah, like the Banff Legacy Trail, and you can pretty much like it's on the highway, but it's still pretty, and it's a little bit like further into like the valley, so you're not right next to the cars. And then sometimes I even choose that to like commute to work, and that's so cool. Like I'm just like biking on my bike and then just getting ready for work, like in Banff, and yeah, the summers are here are incredible, especially also with like sunrise hikes, or like you can rent a canoe or like get your own and then go on the lakes and just yeah, like be with your friends and yeah, canoe or like stand up paddle and do like activities like that.
Oh, that is so awesome. I'm kind of jealous, not gonna lie, that you have the beautiful nature to use as your gymnasium, basically.
Yeah,
And it's just, there's nothing better than getting out into, yeah, there's nothing better than getting out into nature just to kind of
exactly.
disconnect from the city or the town life and just kind of have some time to yourself, right?
Yeah, I feel we're pretty spoiled out here. Like we're you pretty much don't need a gym membership because the gym is just right outside your doorstep. And
Hmm.
yeah, no, we don't take it for granted and we really appreciate it.
Oh, that's awesome. Could you tell us a little bit about your life back in Germany? Were you always outdoorsy, adventurous, or was it different?
Yeah. So it was definitely different. Like I was always like into like nature and like going camping and like so I used to live like the last 8 years when I was in Germany, I lived in a big city called Leipzig, and it's really well known for the like biking systems in the city, but also like to all of the lakes around it. And so I was always biking, like I had my two bikes and I was just like switching up like what I wanted to do. And so yeah, I was always in my free time just like outside and like going on hiking trips and like vacation, always like either to the Alps in the south or like to France or Italy. And it was always like more like my life was more focused on like the outdoorsy things than like the city life and like going shopping and stuff like that. I'd rather like spend the time outside.
Hmm.
And yeah, I used to have like a little, pretty much like a rebuilt van. And so on the weekends, we were always driving to like places where you could climb or just go on big hikes. And yeah, I'm pretty much like, I was that before. Canada didn't change me in that perspective.
I have this I have this idea of Germans being very outdoorsy. is that true? Is that like a cultural mindset, or is that just true for some individuals?
I would say it's like so, like half. Like definitely the people in, oh, I love your mug. Good choice today.
Banff,
It's a Banff
everyone.
mug. Yeah. um, so I would say like the people in the South, because they're just like closer to the mountains, they're really outdoorsy with like the mountaineering and like skiing and hiking and climbing is all about. And then people up in up north, we have the Baltic Sea. Like it's not a real ocean, but it's like it's a sea.
Yeah.
And so people are like kite surfing and windsurfing and a lot of like canoeing and like more into like the water sports.
Okay.
Um, so I think Germans are pretty active,
Mhm.
but in like different ways. And
Okay.
I don't know why you think about that as Germans, but I also feel Germans travel a lot, or like we used to travel a lot.
Yeah, I have that perception of Germans traveling a lot too. So,
Yeah. So I feel like just like that might be, or like giving us the image of being active and being outside and just like traveling with our backpacks, which is
mhm.
true. Like I feel it's just a culture what like young people do just to like before university, just like finding out what path they want to choose and what career and education they want to take.
Yeah,
And so it's just like to to get out, adventure, and find out what you want to do.
for sure. And so, what are some of the other cultural mindsets that are in Germany?
Yeah. Um, so I would say that Germans are pretty like they're really like success and career orientated.
Okay.
Like once like school is pretty important to us. Like you go to school, like we have pretty much kindergarten, then you go to elementary school, and then after grade 4, you go into either middle school, which goes until grade 10, or you go to like high school, like more like an advanced high school, which goes to grade 12.
Mm,
And then you pretty much, it's not like totally set in stone, but like you make the decision after elementary school if you go into like a higher education, which like leads you to graduate your A levels, like your high school, and then you're pretty much able to like you're certified to go study.
yeah.
And so you can also switch from like middle school to high school, but it's like a pretty, it's not pretty hard, but it's a difficult path to
Mhm.
just like switch. And so I feel, yeah, like Germans after high school, it's just like, okay, what are you going to do? Are you going to go to college? Are you going to do university? Are you like learning like a job? And so I feel that path is always like pretty, you have to do it. Like it's set
Okay.
in stone.
Yeah.
Um, and then what I also think is different to Canada is that when you like ask people here, like it's maybe it's also the mindset and like the mentality here in the Bull Valley, but a lot of people just don't ask you, "Hey, what do you do for work?" when you meet them first.
Mm,
They ask you like, "Oh, so what are you doing in your free time? Like what's your favorite sports and like your activity you like?"
yeah.
And then looping back to Germany, it's always like, what do you do for work? And what position are you at? Like, how long have you studied? Where have you studied? So I feel like that's usually like a big focus for Germans.
Yeah, it's like, well, it's like prestige, right?
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very
Um,
interesting. Yeah, the first thing you would, I mean, of course, I think everyone probably would say this, but when you say like hi, the most common or natural thing to say next would be, how are you? How's it going? Talk about how the day went. But that's different. I don't, now that I'm trying to think about the conversations I've had in the past, yeah, the
mhm.
conversation of work doesn't pop up right away.
Yeah. And then this is like exactly what you just said. Like in Germany, like you would never like say hi to someone random on the streets, like being like, "Hey, how's it going? What's up?" Or like, "How's your day been?" It's really like people are just focused. I would not say that they're like selfish, but like some people could maybe appear a little bit arrogant because they don't show the interest right away in you.
Right.
So I think the same with like Canadians are so polite and like helpful, and they offer you like pretty much to help, even if like I remember one situation when I first came to Canada, I was just like, looking on my phone, and I was just like trying to like find the way where I have to go. And I think it was in Vancouver. And there was this lady coming by and she's like, "Oh, like, do you need help? I can just let you know like where everything is. And like, how about I show you?" And I was like, okay, yeah, sure, thank you. And I feel like that would not happen in Germany. Like, you get help when you ask for it, but
Yeah.
you would not like get it offered.
Interesting. Yeah, I've only been to Germany once, and I mean, I didn't go to the big cities. I went to Mannheim and also Heidelberg, and then there's a lot of other little tiny towns around
Just
those areas.
around.
Yeah,
Hmm.
that are really lovely. And so I personally found the Germans very helpful and um, nice, but like, yeah, I don't know what the common mentality is like. That's just a small representation, I suppose. So
Yeah. And I mean, there's always like, like my friends are awesome. Like I know that they would offer help to someone they think they needed.
yeah,
But I would say that generally like mindset is just like being focused on yourself, doing your thing, go to work 8 or 9 hours a day, go home, do your thing, and just like, yeah, be in your own bubble. And I feel Canadians are just more like, okay, let's do this. And we invite this like friends group, and these friends are going along as well. So we can just like make them friends again. And families are going on like big vacations together. I mean, we're talking about pre-COVID times, but
yeah, not
that's
now.
yeah, but this is like just what I felt. Like everyone is welcome here, and like everyone is just it's really like inclusive. And yeah, like it's more about like being together instead of like against each
Right. Now, here's an interesting question for you. On the flip side, you know how
other.
you said Canadians are just so polite and always so helpful. Do you think that sometimes we're too polite and too helpful, almost to a fault sometimes? Because there's it's healthy to also be very focused and, stay your path too. So what are your thoughts on that?
So like being sorry for being sorry.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
um Honestly, like I don't mind it, and I'd rather have people being too polite and too friendly and too nice and too kind than being like grumpy or like even like, yeah, I don't know, a little bit aggressive. So
Okay.
I don't know, I've been here for almost like 4 years now. I actually have my little Canada anniversary end of February.
Oh,
And
'congrats.
4 years. And so I feel like I don't even notice it anymore. Like I know when I had friends and family visiting, they're like, "Oh my god, everyone is just so nice." And I'm like, "Oh really? Like what do you mean?" And they were like, "Yeah, the lady at the coffee shop just was like wishing me a nice day and like asking me where I'm from." And I'm like, "Wow, I don't even like notice that anymore."
Yeah.
And so it's just really really interesting to see how other people, yeah, recognize that.
Okay, cool. Well, good to know. The last question I have about Germany before we move into how what brought you to Canada
Mhm.
is, you know, what is Germany really known for? Because when I think of countries in Europe, like I think of France, and I think of um, their food, for instance, and the Eiffel Tower. So, yeah, what's Germany known for?
Yeah. I would still say like Germany is also known for their food. Like we love our bread. We love like good pastries. I really this is probably one of like the things I miss the most is like a bakery where you can get like a huge variety of like baked goods.
Yeah.
So I think like that good food is for us like good bread and like heavy food. Like they love to make like like potato dishes with like meat and like a good sauce. Like I also feel like I don't know in the last like 4 years, like a lot of people told me that I put a lot of sauce on my food. And they say it's apparently a German thing that we always have to have a sauce with our food, or like meals. And I also think it's like it's known for a lot of like history. Like so I'm from like the very east. Like I grew up in a small town um to the border to Poland and Czech Republic.
Okay.
And so the biggest city, it's a little bit like it's like 100 kilometers west. and it's called Dresden, and like they have so many like historical buildings and like just like really nice churches, and I feel like it's all about like this like traditional yeah, the traditional like history what Germany went through.
Yeah.
And so people come from all over the world to like see like the dome in Cologne because it's just like such a like majestic building.
Hmm.
And I also think like Germany has such a variety of like landscape that you like have the Baltic Sea on like in the north, and
Okay.
then you just like go down south and you go like to the through the flatlands, but then it's also like it's picking up with like the like hills, and then you just like end up in the south in the German Alps where you can actually just like do mountaineering, and
Yeah.
this is within like 900 kilometers, which is pretty impressive. And then obviously like I know everyone knows about the Oktoberfest.
Yeah.
That's probably the most iconic festival and like just so popular all over the world. Pretty sad. Last year was actually the first year since 1800 something that the Oktoberfest had to be canceled.
No way.
Yeah, and so yeah, I worked there, and I had 2019 the best time there ever. So it's really special. Like everyone is like in their dirndls, which is like the traditional dress,
Yeah.
and in the lederhosen, which are like the nicely just done up pants. How do you guys say it? Like overalls? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess that would be the
Um
best way to say it. Yeah.
yeah, and
Overalls.
yeah, so everyone is just like dressed up in also again traditional clothing, like clothings,
Hmm.
and I feel there's a lot of like traditioning happening in all of like the different provinces. So we have 16 provinces,
Oh,
um, and so I think it's just every province has their own little yeah like stories to tell, and yeah, there's a lot to discover within
mhm.
like really small distances, what you just said previously.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think that's Germany.
Yeah. I loved Germany personally when I went. It was it was just different than what I had imagined it would be, and I really liked, even though I know that there's this they named it the romantic road. So basically you
Okay.
drive the romantic road and it's got all these fairy tale towns. And so I didn't I didn't get to do that because I wasn't near that, but I just kind of felt like with the small towns that I did go to, there was that element of fairy tale town,
Hmm.
and I love the architecture and just the old style buildings. I don't know how you would call them, but kind of with the wooden panels that are shaped like they kind of cross somehow, like, you know what I mean?
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah, like
it was just
the wood, like
beautiful.
the wooden structures.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. The panels would cross, and my favorite place I think was Heidelberg. Like it will always be one of those. Is it a town? I would say it's a town. Yeah,
It's a town. Yeah.
it's always a town that will stick out in my mind.
Yeah. So when I brought my boyfriend there, he was also just like so amazed and like just like so impressed about like the architecture. He's like, this is insane. How do people build this? Like we don't see that in Canada. We have like
Yeah.
log cabins, and like I've never been to Ottawa and Montreal, and I know that there's like also a lot of history and like more architecture buildings like there, but like he's like it's just like you go into every single little town and they have like special little churches or buildings, and he was also saying he felt in a like in a fairy tale. And it's
Mhm.
interesting because for me it's just I grew up pretty much living in a fairy tale town, and
Yeah.
I don't even see it because it's just like, oh, that's the building where my grandma's friend lived, and it's just nothing like totally special to me, but I know it is special.
It is. And I have to say now, I've been to several countries in Europe now, and I think my favorite, or at least top three, Germany would have to make that the top three at least, if not be the top spot, just because it left such a memorable impression on me. It was beautiful. And that fairy tale town, I wonder, Do you think Banff, now that you're living in Canmore and Banff, it kind of replicates that fairy tale? Because whenever I go to Banff, because I'm from the bigger cities in Alberta, um, but Calgary, take Calgary for instance, uh, a city of, I'll say roughly a million. I think it's 1.2 million, but everything's new and modern. Then you just have to drive an hour out and you feel literally like the weight of the city lifting off of you as you drive into the mountains. And when you get into Banff, it feels so magical and it never loses its touch on me, its essence. It's
Yeah.
always been that fairy tale town, that quaint getaway that I
Yeah.
always long for. So, what
Yeah,
do you?
and it still has that like spark, like especially in the Christmas time. I'm
Oh,
like,
yeah.
this is it's just like you like all of the trees are like even if it's like not an actual Christmas tree, like they lighten them up and like there's like lights everywhere and like everything is so like structured and like you have like nice lights and like road lights and I know exactly what you mean. The first time when I got there, like I lived 2 years in Banff and I was like, this just feels like cozy. Like it feels like home. And maybe that's why I'm just like I'm not living in Banff anymore, but I still love Banff.
Yeah.
So maybe that's where I just feel like the most like home. And so maybe that's probably where why I'm just like stuck here, which is not bad.
I was gonna say it's a pretty awesome place if you're gonna be stuck
Mhm.
somewhere. It's a pretty great place to
Yeah.
be.
It's
So,
it's actually it's actually also funny. I went back and forth a couple times in the
yeah.
last 4 years, and so I met this guy working. I don't know where it was. So I met this guy, and he was like, "Yeah, like I've heard about Canada, and there's like this beautiful mountain town, and like it has it's so magical because it pretty much ends up that road ends up like in a mountain, which just looks like as it's painted." I'm like, that's where I live. And he couldn't believe it. He's like, I know this one town and this one picture of the Canadian Rockies, and you live there.
Uh-huh. It's pretty iconic, isn't it?
Yeah. It's so special.
It is. Even just being born and raised here in Canada and having gone to Banff so many times. I mean, not living in it, but I never get bored of it. It's just a beautiful, magical place. And so then, with all this being said about Germany, what what brought you to Canada? What made you want to leave Germany?
So I was not planning on leaving. I just wanted to get out a little bit.
Oh, okay.
So originally I was actually planning on just like having like a vacation semester. Like I was still in uni. And I was just like, I just needed to get out, like personal reasons, but also I was just like craving kind of like getting out of like my little town, even though it was a big town. And so I was planning to stay 6 months. I applied for a work and holiday visa, which is a year for Germans. And so I came 2017 to Canada, and I landed in Kelowna,
Okay.
which I really liked. I was expecting something totally different because you feel like Canada means bears, mountains, snow, and the wild.
Yeah.
And Kelowna, it's just like it's a big town on the lake,
Mhm.
which has like a lot of wineries in the summer and like a lot of golfing and like boating and just like really high end living. And I was like, oh, okay, that feels like California or somewhere, but it feels still great. Um, and so I lived there for 5 months, and then I bought a car and just traveled around and pretty much like already when I got there, like after 2 months, I called my mom and I was like, Mom, I'm really sorry, but I'm probably gonna extend that stay and definitely use my entire like year for that work and travel visa because you just get it once in your lifetime. And I was like, I can't waste that half year and go back to uni.
Yeah.
Um, and so I pretty much like applied for another vacation semester and then I bought a car in the summer and I just traveled all over BC, Alberta, and even the Yukon. And
Oh,
so
the
yeah,
Yukon
I
is
did.
often overlooked in my opinion. It's got
Yeah.
its nice places too.
Oh yeah. And
Yeah.
like so just like so rural, like so off grid,
Yeah.
and it's awesome. And yeah, I've spent a lot of time in Vancouver Island, and I had a lot of like friends visiting, and also my mom came, and they were all just like, we can see why you love it here and you just belong here. Like the mindset and like how you are for us, you just found your people.
Mm.
And so I was like, okay, like I have the support, so I'm staying. Like I'm gonna make the full year.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, I did a ski season at Big White, which is the ski resort in Kelowna.
Okay.
I had that set up in the summer, and then I also met my Canadian boyfriend in that summer 2017, which was another reason I was like, okay, I have to figure out how I can like stay longer or how can I come back and stuff.
Right.
And so I did the winter season in Big White, and I loved it. It was awesome. And then I extended my visa for like a visitor visa until March, and then it was pretty much over, and I had to go back.
Mm.
Um, so I left with pretty much like I had a plan B, but I was like, okay, I don't know if it's working out. So when I got back to Germany, I pretty much applied for a study work permit, which that gives you're pretty much a student. So I took like an outdoor education college program in
Okay.
Banff. And so I've applied for that and I got it. So that meant I had to like pretty much cancel my apartment and cancel all of my like pretty much my life in Germany.
Yeah.
Um, so I sold everything and I shipped out two huge boxes, and I traveled with like three luggages back to Banff in August 2018, and then I started my studies in the fall, and then that visa went all the way until 2019.
Mhm.
And then the next step was pretty much like, okay, like I have I have pretty much no other choice anymore. There's no other visa except like PR, getting permanent residency.
Yeah.
And so I looked into it. I also saw a lawyer just like to make sure I'm doing everything right. And so we pretty much came to the conclusion that the best and quickest and safest way is to apply through my Canadian like boyfriend's like citizenship. So it's like a common
Okay.
law sponsorship.
Yeah.
And so, but I had to leave the country again because after every
Oh,
visa, you have to leave the country because you pretty much have to leave and then re-enter.
I see. Okay,
Um,
so that's for every visa that you have. Whenever it expires, you have to go back, even if it's, I don't know, for a week or something, and you can come back in?
yeah, so pretty much like I think Germans get a 6 months visitor visa, but you can't work. But if you have a visa pretty much combined with a work permit, you have to activate it by leaving and re-entering the country.
Okay.
Um, and so, yeah, so I pretty much left Canada for Germany again. I worked at Oktoberfest, saw my family,
Yeah.
because I knew at that point when I'm going back, when you apply for permanent residency inside the country, you cannot leave until you have the decision of the government. So I pretty much knew I won't see them for a year because they say it can take up to 12 months.
Mhm.
And so it was like kind of like, okay, like I knew I'm going there because I have to go back. Then I see my family, spend some time with them. And then when I came back to Canada in 2019 in the fall, we submitted our application, which was a huge application, 350 pages, and so much work. You just have to prove every single bit of your last pretty much 10 years where you traveled, where you lived, where you worked, and like stuff like that, which was it was doable. Like I want to like encourage people to do it, but
Yeah.
it's a big step and it's a big commitment. And so yeah, we handed it in, and then after 4 months, you get a work permit, like a
Okay.
temporary one, until you wait what the decision is from the government. And so I was able to go back to work finally after 4 months. And yeah, and then in September, also like with all of the COVID stuff happening last year, I was like, I wasn't sure if I'm getting it or if it's maybe delayed and stuff like that. But it actually took like 11 months or like 10 and a half. And yeah, really, really also weird story or like crazy story. We went on a little trip to BC
Mhm.
in the summer, and I first landed in 2017 at the Kelowna airport. And
Yeah.
when we passed on that trip last year in the summer, when we passed the airport, I got the email that I became a permanent resident.
What?
Yeah. So
That's
I
crazy.
believe in stuff like that. So that was crazy. So I got the email at first.
Wow.
I thought it was just like, I don't know, a joke or something. But yeah, we pulled over and we both read it over and over and over again, and we were like, okay, that's it. Like, I am a permanent resident.
Wow, congrats. That is a
Yeah.
crazy story. So like there's so many exciting things going on. You got your permanent resident card uh just as you happened to pass by that same airport that you landed in. How many years ago is that now? 3.5 years
Um,
ago?
that was like 3.5 years.
Yeah. And then you're going to be celebrating 4 years at the end of being
Yeah.
in Canada at the end
Yeah.
of this month. Oh, wow.
So the actual permanent residency card, that's like how it works. You pretty much get an email that you have the proof that you got the permanent residency.
Yeah.
But the actual card I got December 23rd in the mail, and that was the best Christmas gift I've ever received.
I can
um,
imagine. Wow. Can like
yeah,
I've just heard a few stories now, just talking to other immigrants about their journey, and it's a very stressful process to apply for a permanent resident card, to apply for citizenship, to even get visas, to even just come into the country. Even sometimes I hear is such a struggle. I can only imagine what that would feel like when you've jumped through all the hoops, paid all the necessary fees, waited kind of, so to speak, out in the wilderness as you waited for your permanent resident card or citizenship or visa to be approved. It would feel so amazing to get that, and especially at Christmas time.
yeah.
There's yeah, you couldn't ask for
It
any more.
Yeah, it just so we just realized like after receiving it, how like in what kind of like stress state we were.
Yeah.
Because just like it just relieved so many like questions, and like it was just like secure now. I can stay, I can work, I can travel inside and outside the country as much as I want. And it is like just looking back and like just telling my story, it's like you realize what kind of like of a wild ride it was, but it was not even in the moment that crazy because you were just in the moment and you're like, okay, this is the next step. Like there's no other choice. I can't put pressure on me because it's not in my hands. Like the
Yeah.
government is gonna decide when I'm getting it and if I'm getting it. Like I was sure I'm getting it, but you never know. Like you hear all of those stories with like you're getting like deported or like you have to leave within 48 hours and stuff
Yeah.
like that. And so yeah, like you should not underestimate the mental like stress you have when you finally, it's pretty much like getting a new passport. Like you don't get a new identity, but you get a passport which opens so many doors for you.
Yeah, of course. And so I've always wondered because, being a Canadian living in the bigger cities, whenever I've gone to Banff, I've always wondered about the people that work in Banff.
Yeah.
And a lot of them are foreigners, a lot of them are from Australia, or actually, to be honest, I don't really know of any other countries. I know that might sound really ignorant, but a lot of the people that I've come into contact with whenever I've gone to Banff, they were all from Australia on a visa, on
Mhm.
a work visa, a 2-year work visa, or whatever it may be. I think there was one time where there was another girl from Germany as well, or maybe it was Austria, but one of the two countries. And I was just like, yeah, there's something about Banff that draws in the foreigner. So how did you get your job at Lululemon?
Yeah. So I would say like there's definitely a lot of Australians, just like going back to that fact, what you just said. There's also people from New Zealand, a lot of like English people. And so but also a lot of people like from the Philippines or like from Asia, like people like Banff is just like such a multicultural space where people just come and enjoy kind of like the like the Canadian lifestyle, but also bringing their own culture to Banff,
Yeah.
where like everyone can just like be however they want to be and just share what they like and what their traditions are, which I think is like it's amazing.
Hmm.
Um, I would say Banff is a town where you mostly work in like retail jobs or like hospitality jobs or like jobs where they're like related to the tourism because like we live off of the tourism,
Yeah.
which is yeah, the main thing in the summer. It's like such a big like attraction to come to Banff to like see wildlife and see like all the beautiful blue lakes and go hiking and camping and all that stuff. And in the winter, it's obviously skiing because we have one of the best like ski resorts in the world.
Yeah.
And so I feel just people wanted to have that lifestyle and just to yeah, just to enjoy it and be with like-minded people who enjoy the same things.
Hmm. So, yeah, I guess that is it easy to get a job then in Banff? Because could a Canadian from the city, a big city, come in and just decide to work in Banff, or is it harder than what it seems?
That's a good question. So you can work in Banff, but you cannot live in Banff without a job. So
Okay.
you have, because it's a national park, you have to have a job to get accommodation and housing. And it's pretty hard to get housing in Banff, especially if you don't want to live with 10 other people in one house and 5 other people in the same room. So it is really like high demand. Like people want to live there and they just like sacrifice like the comfort
Yeah.
um of like a nice place. So yeah, like this is the only regulation I know of. Like
Okay.
I could live in Banff because I work for Lululemon Banff. But I just decided, yeah, as I just said, like I used to live in Banff, but I decided not to live in Banff anymore because it is when you live there, especially in the summer, like we usually get 4 million people every year,
That tiny
visitors.
town gets 4 million people.
Yes, I
Wow.
actually looked it up again because I knew that number, but I wanted to like make sure I'm not saying like telling you anything wrong. And it is hectic. You go to the grocery store and it just takes you so long to get your essential groceries where you like I just need like milk and like my bread and stuff.
Mhm.
And you don't get me wrong, I appreciate like that we get so many tourists that like amazing place what we offer, but it's just for living it's a little bit yeah, just annoying, and you get like a little bit like I don't know, just a little bit angry, and you're like, no, this is just like I just need to go to a grocery store, to the gas station, or to the post office, and there's yeah millions of people just like walking on the streets, and yeah, so it was just like a little bit too much for us, and so we decided to move to Canmore,
Mhm.
which is awesome because it's like a 20-minute commute, and it's the most beautiful commute, and you I still get the experience working in Banff.
Oh, absolutely. Canmore is like Banff's bigger sister.
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a very, like, cute town too. I like going into Canmore. I always liked going into Canmore. They have the beaver's tails there as well, and I love beaver tails. That's my
What's
tr every time I go into Banff, I'm stopping at Beaver Tails and Mary's Popcorn. And in
nice?
Canmore, there's a Beaver Tails as well, so whenever I stay in Canmore, we're going
You can
straight
get it
to
there.
Beaver Tails.
Yeah, beaver tails is a good Canadian little pastry, which is heavy in your tummy, but it's so worth it.
Oh, I know. You can't have that every day, but well,
Yeah.
maybe if you're, like, riding your bike to and fro, maybe you can afford to
Then you
have
can.
it every day, but
Yeah, exactly.
yeah, that's pretty
uh,
cool, though. So,
yeah.
living in Banff is to me, it sounds like then it's not really an option unless you're working in the town of Banff and, you're willing to live with other people.
Yeah.
But what about
Or
people who have houses there?
yeah. So I also know that like you can like a lot of people rent houses because like buying is just like it's really expensive. Like we would like we live in one of the spots which is like comparable to Toronto.
Mhm.
Like it's really expensive to like rent and buy houses or property. And I also know that you have to own a business in Banff that you can actually buy property for you. And I think I've heard because it's native land, you also your lease has to be renewed every 100 years. I'm not
Oh,
sure about that number, but like a certain amount of numbers, you have to like check in with Alberta Parks or like the national park and just yeah have to like get reevaluated pretty much on your lease. And I also know you can buy if you have someone like related to you. Let's say my parents own a place in Banff and I could buy that place because they are the pre-owners.
okay.
And so, yeah, it's definitely not that easy. And I think that's also the reason why Canmore gets like so like flooded of like people, especially right now because no one can travel outside of the country. That people just buy houses here. And then this pretty much like also messes around a little bit with the market for people who actually live here and want to like invest in a house.
Yeah.
And so it's going to get a big struggle to just like to find housing which is affordable for people who work and live here. Because as you can imagine, it's also not if you're an engineer, you more likely like find a better paid job in Calgary or Edmonton in Alberta or like even way up north
Yeah.
than like in Banff or in Calgary.
Mhm.
Sorry, in Canmore. So yeah, the prices are just getting a little bit messy. And so yeah, I know there's a lot going on with the town of Canmore that they're trying to find some sort of regulation to like prevent that for the actual like people who live here.
Mm.
Yeah.
Wow, that's interesting. And this is stuff you don't normally I don't think the average Canadian thinks about or really knows. So it'd only take a Banff insider to tell
To get
all,
that.
right? Yeah.
Yeah, and I always call it, like the Banff bubble. Like I would include Canmore in that too, but like the Banff bubble is just sometimes you have to get a day to go to Calgary or like to a city just to feel what real life is all about. Like we sometimes like get a little bit sucked up in our like, oh, we have this like mountains and like everything is fine and we live like the dreamy life. Well, we do, but we also have to get reminded that there's other like situations and circumstances around there. Like we don't have any homeless people in Banff. Like there's no one on the streets.
Yeah.
And if there would be, like the town of Banff would just like help out or like relocate them because yeah this also just doesn't like fit in like the Banff probably like town picture I would say.
Okay.
Like the community is tight and like everyone is just there for each other and everyone knows someone you may know. So that's always like really important to know as well because be nice and be supportive and be yeah just be nice to other people because the the circle is always going to end at some point again with like someone knows someone.
Yeah, exactly. So sometimes you have to be reminded about life elsewhere outside of Banff. Yeah.
Notice.
So what are some of the hidden gems then of Banff and Canmore? And then part two of this question would be, what do you think, what would be your perfect day?
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of like spots in Banff where you can just like enjoy some time just like with less crowds. I'm gonna say a couple, but then I also gonna not say like tell you all of them because
Yeah,
then the
you gotta
locals
keep them
won't
a
go
secret.
there.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I really so in Banff I really like the Norquay Lookout Point. Like it's you drive up the Norquay Road towards the ski resort, which is in the summer actually a via ferrata where you can climb. And yeah, so you just like go all the switchbacks up, and then I think the last one there's like a beautiful lookout over the town of Banff where you can see Tunnel Mountain and like Vermilion Lakes and like the town itself. So I really like that point. Just like bring like I don't know, just a little picnic or like a drink or something, and just enjoy the views.
Okay.
Um, Talking about Vermilion Lake, it's an awesome spot for like a canoe. Like you can rent canoes at the canoe club in Banff and just like paddle there. But if you have your own, or you can rent one and just bring it there, it's beautiful for a sunset canoe because the sun just stays there as long in the valley. So it's just awesome. And another spot is which I really really like is Tunnel Mountain, which is actually um, called. I think they're gonna like rename it to like Sleeping Buffalo, because when you come from Canmore on the highway, it looks like a buffalo, which is just like all like snuggled up and like sleeping.
Cute.
And yeah, it's, I would say, like a 40-45 minute hike up there, and you also have a amazing view over the valley, just like in the other direction towards Lake Louise.
Hmm.
And yeah, in Canmore, I really enjoy sunrise hikes to either Harling or the or like the east end of Rundle. And yeah, you can just get stunning views from up there. And yeah, it's beautiful. What I also recommend is in the winter, actually like play it safe, but go ice skating on one of the frozen lakes around here.
Okay.
It's awesome. Like everyone just thinks about like skiing in the valley, but ice skating on a frozen lake. I also actually experienced that for the first time when I got here.
Mm.
Like we used to have really cold winters in Germany, but in the past 10 years there was no snow and no like cold temperatures, which let the lakes freeze. So yeah, it's just like a really Canadian experience to like go and skate and play ice hockey on like either Lake Minnewanka or like Tujek Lake or Gap Lake, which is just around here, or even up Spray Lakes, up to Cap Kananaskis.
Okay.
Um, yeah, it's beautiful and awesome.
Oh, that sounds like fun. I wanted to go skating at Lake Minnewanka. We when we went to Banff, when I met you first in January, we did a day in Lake Louise, and I got to go skating for the first time in my life. Can you believe it? First time in my life
Wow,
on Lake Louise, skating there. And
nice.
I thought, why did I not do this before? It was the most liberating experience. It was so beautiful, and the day was like it was perfect. There was not one single cloud in the sky. It was blue.
Beautiful.
I mean, the sun was hidden behind the mountains, but you can't ask the mountains to move, but you get one or the other. But no, it was just like the best. But one of the places that was up for debate was between Lake Louise and Lake
Lake Minnewanka.
Minnewanka. Wow, I feel like that's a tongue twister. Yeah.
Did
So
did you know that under the lake of Lake Minnewanka is like a hidden town, like the town of Minnewanka?
what? No.
Yeah, so they decided when they built Banff that they had to like pretty much like I don't know, locate like a river or like water they had. And so they were like, okay, like we have to like get that water out of the Banff Valley. So we
Mhm.
have to flood that town of Lake Minnewanka. And so they flooded that town, and now it's like a hidden town underneath, and it's really popular actually in the summer for scuba diving, because like you dive in a town, like in a lost town,
Oh my gosh, it's like the lost city of Atlantis, but
just in the Bow Valley.
just in the Bow Valley. Yeah. Wow, that's insane. I had no
Yeah,
idea. So people
yeah,
actually scuba dive in Lake Minnewanka. Wow,
Minnewanka.
I'm saying Lake. Lake
um,
Minnewanka, and you can actually see the lost town.
Yeah. So I've never done it, but this is like what I know. And in the summer, still Lake Minnewanka, it's like a glacier lake, so it's still really cold. So you have to wear the proper gear, like with like probably like a wetsuit, like pretty thick.
Yeah.
But I know that there's like even in the summer there's like it's a lot of boating on Lake Minnewanka in the summer as well. Beautiful camp spots on that lake as well. And yeah, so there's like kind of like a band, like they spotted that area a little bit, so like you can get into that with your boat, so the scuba divers are safe.
Oh, wow. That is super cool. I had no idea that that even
Yeah,
existed. Wow, thanks for that tip.
no
Um,
worries.
to kind of just wrap up a little bit, you're saying all this stuff about Banff and Canmore, um, but I was just wondering, what do you appreciate about Wow, I can't speak today. What do you appreciate the most in Canada?
So when I drove to the Yukon, I read a sign and it said, "You can't buy happiness, but you can live in Canada," and that's pretty much the same. And I have that. I have a picture of it, obviously, and I printed it out, and it's in my like journal. And it's. I feel like that's the perfect definition of Canada. You honestly have to make your own happy place, but Canada gives you a perfect base to do so. Like, I love how the people are here. I love the country for the landscape and like all of the vegetation we have, like the ocean and Vancouver Island. There's whales, but then you go into like more of the Rockies. You have like those huge mountains which you have to respect, and we have this amazing wildlife, which is from like little mountain bighorn sheeps to like bears and cougars, and we live with them. Like, it's not a zoo. There's no fences. We live with those animals.
Yeah.
I think just like that big combination of all of those facts, giving me the opportunity to live here and to call this place home, it's a dream, and I pretty much live the Canadian dream.
That's so amazing. I love hearing that. Well, Judy, thank you so much for chatting with me today and for sharing your experience, for also sharing what life was like in Germany and kind of explaining the culture better to me. And yeah, just thank you for opening up.
Thank you so much for listening to my story, and yeah, thank you for having me.
Hey everyone, thanks for watching. I really hope you enjoyed listening to Judy's story. If you'd like to connect with her, you can do so on Instagram through @skibig3 or @bejudyful. Immigrants of Canada is a show that is financially funded by wonderful people like you. If you feel led to contribute financially, please visit www.immigrants-of-canada.com/donate. Lastly, if you enjoyed listening to this video, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe to this channel so that you can continue listening to more inspiring immigrant stories. Thanks, and we'll see you next time.